Welcome to this 9th series of mental health conversation. And today we are talking upon how to make our conversation productive, sweet, and meaningful. And today we have in our panel, we have Loon from Department of Commerce, we have Archana from Department of Philosophy, and today we have a special guest, Nilakshi, who is the director of Baha'i House of Worship, Lotus Temple. We have invited her, and then we have students from philosophy and environmental sciences, and we have again Nidhi, who is looking after administration, technical side of our administration in the college. So elegant panel we have, mixed of people from outside and then from students and from especially from philosophy, everything together. Today we are going to talk upon a particular article of mine that appeared in Hindu, which talked about how we become joy thieves, how we become joy hackers, how we become joy killers, and at the same time we also become joy multiplier during conversations. So the problem that we are going to discuss here today is that we must be mindful of the objective of conversation, the purpose of conversation. The objective of conversation should be to strengthen relationship, bonding. The purpose of conversation should be to honor the feelings and emotions of the other person. The purpose of conversation should also be to enhance satisfaction out of conversation, to increase its motivation. So all these things we generally miss because we are unmindful of these things. So today we would like to discuss how to make conversation meaningful, satisfactory, and constructive. This is what we generally experience. I read a book by Neil Donald, and the name of the book is Conversations with God. So you can talk to God, but there are conditions. And if you fulfill those conditions, then obviously you can imagine you can even talk to God. So here we would like to know how to achieve this objective of making our conversation with other person more useful. Because generally what happens that the other person comes to you with lot of excitement, he gives you some information, but you as a joy killer, you depress him so much that he gets disheartened and he thinks that why did I come to him with this particular information? So our effort should be that whenever someone comes with some good news from his side, we should encourage, we should add to his excitement, okay, instead of depressing the other person. So with that purpose, we would like to know from our special guest herself that how does she view what makes a conversation more useful and sweet to both the parties, and a conversation that strengthens relationship between the two. Nilad.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Mishra for inviting me to this panel. Many of you may not know, I have a long association with Ramanujan College. I've been coming here for many years, and we have collaborated also many programs together. So it's really wonderful to be here again, Professor Mishra, and thank you for that. As I shared, I think before this panel started, that I don't have much experience, but I have just come to learn from you all. But it's a very interesting topic and very close to my heart. I have discovered like how meaningful conversations can really transform not only individuals, but also society. I have discovered this 20 years back when I started walking in this path of service, which I call it service, because it's helped me to understand my life and also the people around me. So conversation, as you say, Professor Mishra, it can take place at all levels. So when you have conversation in your own family settings, for example, it has to be meaningful. Why it is meaningful? That will give other person joy. Also, the issues in your family, we help each member of the family to understand how to deal with the issues. That's why conversation is very important at the level of family. So usually what we see in our family settings, that it's one person who takes decision, and we call it the head of the family, which is father, who happens to be the father. But there are other members who can equally contribute to this conversation. If a conversation can take place and take views of each and every members, so you can see a beautiful family, the family with love, more unity, mutual support, that can emerge from these conversations if a person will not impose his or ideas on others. That's the first one. Then second level of conversation, when we go out of the family settings, when we go to the society, we meet friends, we meet our relatives, right? We meet our neighbors. Now think about yourself, how you're engaging with them. What kind of a conversations you're having with them, with your neighbors, with your own friend circle, with your relatives, with your co-workers. You will find that maybe half of your day will go out by talking about weather, or about politics, yeah? But nothing meaningful which can really uplift you, spiritually uplift you and makes you happy. So at the end of the day, you find yourself very depressed because you think there's nothing good happening around me. So why should I do good? Everyone is talking like this, everybody is. So you started believing in a system which is not correct maybe, which is present before you as a norm, but that's not a norm, right? So you have to be very conscious about that. Another conversation which takes place in the community or in the institutions. For example, I'm very grateful to Ramanujan College, and we have a high admiration for these institutions because they give opportunities to students to have this kind of conversations or to this kind of a dialogue where they come and share their own views, which you can see, you don't see this kind of spaces in any other educational institutions. Because students are not like an empty cup, you're just filling it up. They also have to give it to you, right? You have to take something from them. That's what we believe. So conversations, when you engage yourself in a meaningful conversation, there are two developments I see. One, your own intellectual development, where you're engaging yourself in a meaningful way with others. You're consulting about the issues that you're concerned of. For example, about the education of children, for example, in your own neighborhood, you see some children are playing in the street, and you're really worried about that, and you're concerned about it. And you started having these conversations with your own neighbors. What should we do? Can we engage them in something which they can learn, So how curate a space for children then? Then again, you see that your own colleagues are also not engaged in the meaningful conversations. They are just, roaming here and there. They're talking about all this negative, because there are two forces that are operating in our society, and you have to be very conscious about that. One is the destructive forces, which is very loud, and we all can see that when you open social media, when you see newspapers, and these forces are everywhere around us. And it's affecting our mind, yeah? And that whatever is coming to our mind, we are reflecting in our actions, showing in our actions, because we become aggressive, we become loud, we don't listen to others, we become impatient. So all of these things are affecting us, you see? So when you engage yourself in a meaningful conflict, that means the constructive forces, there are also constructive forces, but you need to make some effort to identify them. So when you identify these forces, you become part of that forces. And then you will see there are some development in your thinking, in your behavior, the way you speak, the way you behave with others. And that you realize that this is the force I want to be part of. So it's very important for students, especially for the young people like you all, to identify these forces in the society and then be part of that. The destructive forces, be aware of it, don't be part, but the constructive forces, yes, from whatever way it's coming from, don't have prejudice to saying that, okay, this force is coming from this side, so I'm not going to be part of it, because you have certain, prejudice against that community or maybe against that individuals. Don't think about that. Think about the content, what content that person is giving you. If that content is really helping you to grow, take it. Don't, because prejudice is that's another topic, I think, which is very much going on stronger and stronger in our country, which we all have to be, careful about it. And so that's what we need to look at, the forces which are really, helping us to grow. So this is what initial thought I would like to share, but I would like to hear from others also what they
wonderful,
think.
wonderful. Nilakshi, you have really drawn an excellent pitch for conversation, and the basis, the foundation has been created. Now we need to build up further. Okay, I would also like to talk about conversation between parent and a child. Okay, that's a very important aspect of our society. How that can be made fruitful. Many times it happens that a child, of course, the parent comes very tired after being in the office for about 5, 6, 8 hours, and when he comes, this little child, she comes and she wants to narrate some exciting event that she encountered. But the father, he says that, okay, I'll listen to you, but you come to me after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, so that I change my clothes and everything. Now the excitement that the child had in the beginning, the child will lose after 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Okay, the child cannot have the same excitement. So I would like to know from one of our students that what is there in their mind to make an ideal conversation between child and a parent.
तो कॉन्वर्सेशन में एक और इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ होती है, हम कॉन्वर्सेशन की बात कर रहे हैं. कॉन्वर्सेशन का मतलब ये नहीं कि हम जो दूसरों से बात कर रहे हैं, एक कॉन्वर्सेशन होती है जो हम खुद से बात कर रहे हैं, द सेल्फ टॉक जो यहाँ पे चल रही है. तो अगर सपोज़ वो पेरेंट है, वो थक के आए हैं जॉब से, ऑफिस से, बिजनेस से, तो मतलब उनके दिमाग में भी कुछ ना कुछ चल रहा होगा. वो अपने आप से सेल्फ टॉक कर रहे होंगे, अरे यार ये बच्चे समझते नहीं हैं, ये तो बच्चे अभी खेल कूद में ऐसे ही आ गए, पापा ये देखो मैंने ये पज़ल बनाई, ये ड्राइंग बनाई. तो बेसिकली कॉन्वर्सेशन वो भी कर रहा है अपने आप से यहाँ पे सेल्फ टॉक में. तो जो कॉन्वर्सेशन पेरेंट और चाइल्ड की है वो तब निखर सकती है जब वो पेरेंट जो है वो अपना कॉन्वर्सेशन जो उनके यहाँ पे चल रहा है थोड़ा डिस्ट्रक्टिव टाइप, थोड़ा नेगेटिव टाइप, थोड़ा मतलब उस बच्चे की फीलिंग्स को जो उन्होंने हटा दिया, अगर वो उसे कम कर दे जो यहाँ पे कॉन्वर्सेशन चल रही है, तो यहाँ पे जो कॉन्वर्सेशन चलेगी उसकी एफिशिएंसी थोड़ी बढ़ सकती है. और there is a very beautiful quote by author Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, कि you can make more friends in just 2 months by becoming interested in what others are saying rather than in 2 years by making them interested in what you are saying. तो मतलब आपको उस इंटरेस्ट के साथ उन लोगों की वॉइस को बेसिकली एक डिफरेंस हमें जानना होगा. द डिफरेंस बिटवीन हियरिंग एंड लिसनिंग. देयर इज़ अ डिफरेंस. हियरिंग मतलब अच्छा अच्छा डन. जैसे कि बच्चे समझ नहीं आता टीचर का यस मैम डन डन थैंक यू मैम थैंक यू बस खत्म. लेकिन ये हो गया हियरिंग. लेकिन अब हो गया लिसनिंग. लिसनिंग हियरिंग से अलग होता है. लिसनिंग मतलब पूरा अपने आप को झोंक देना कि वो सामने वाला इंसान क्या बोल रहा है. उसके दिमाग में भी वही चीज़ चल रही है, उसी चीज़ को इंटरप्रेट कर रहा है जो टीचर या कोई भी इंसान बोल रहा है. तो आपकी कॉन्वर्सेशन अच्छी तभी हो सकती है जब आप सामने वाले पर्सन को लिसन करो, ना कि हियर करो. तो एक पेरेंट जब अच्छे से लिसन करेंगे, अपना सेल्फ टॉक जो है उसे कम करेंगे और जो टॉक अपने बच्चे के साथ कर रहे हैं उसे इंक्रीज करेंगे, तो इफेक्टिवनेस बढ़ सकती है. दैट्स माय पॉइंट सर.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, the entire thing boils around one particular factor, that you do have to give due importance to the other person who has come to you to communicate with you, to share his feelings, emotions. So unless we give proper respect to the other's viewpoints and everything, if we are obsessed always with our own views, sometimes what happens that someone comes to you with exciting program, tour program, and then you start weighing that what would be the difficulties, all the negative aspects you are able to figure out, and then you narrate that, look here, it is very difficult, it has so many pitfalls and everything. So basically you are demoralizing the other person. Okay, now that affects the relationship. Maybe from next time he will not share those things with you. Okay, so basically, in all humility, you talked about self-talk. I mean, you think that he is also an individual who is having own self as you are having. So you must respect the other self also, as much you give importance or you give respect to yourself. So on that, what we were trying to figure out the modalities, of conversation between parents and a child. So would you like to throw some light on that? That how it can be very friendly, amicable, and all that.
Sir, the conversation between parents and children can be more effective if parents understand the point of view of children and they empathize with the children instead of just hearing the child, actively listening to the children. And another thing is that we all have our mental bandwidths, that sometimes we are not in the mood to talk or sometimes we are feeling anxious or sad. So when you are sad, you will not be able to listen to the happy person because you are in a mental state which is sad. So just leaving that state for a while and empathizing with the person in front of you. अगर किसी पेरेंट का मूड बैड है या फिर वो किसी बैड मूड स्टेट में है, तो वो जो चाइल्ड है उसके वाइब के साथ मैच करने का कोशिश कर सकते हैं. And another thing which they can do is, instead of like talking about the sad things, if you will talk about sad things, you will get sad in the end. And some people are sometimes not in the state to listen to sad things, so not telling them. Instead of just fixing your problems first and then maybe trying. So this can be approach to that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a wonderful idea. What happens generally, that when we enter into conversation, then it should be full, not incomplete. Okay. That also disheartens the other person. So you should allow the other person to come out with full information, full viewpoints, okay, and you should also respond in the same way. So basically the three elements are very important. That conversation should have the component of fullness, friendliness, okay, and then freshness. fresh ideas, constructive ideas should emerge out of, conversation. Then only the other person will be motivated to talk to you again and again. Okay, you are also happy, the other person is also happy. So your motive should be all these three things. Okay, so would Archana like to throw some light on that?
Reflection, freshness. So the conversation is going intense, and I have to really give a very thought on it. Conversation which would bring people closure. Now, I'll just like to take example of me and my father, because while growing, whenever my father comes back home, I would freely talk to him or share anything or whatever I want, my desires. Children usually ask whatever they want from their fathers, right? And my father would respond with excitement. Okay, he has this look on his face that he is listening. He's listening or not, that is another point. But he looks like he is listening and having so much interest on you. And on the other hand, my mother, she would never encourage to talk unnecessarily. She will always say, just don't talk unnecessarily, talk the necessary things. So whenever there is any necessary things, like important discussions, I would go to my mother. But for other discussions, like be it important or be unnecessary things, I would go to my father. But one day it happened. It was about we wanted to get color TV, and in the market, it was Football World Cup. And I really wanted to get new TV to watch this football match. And I asked my father, let's get new TV. And we started having conversation how this TV is so good, Thomson TV, it has the shape of football. The excitement was there. It's going to be a new thing at home. And he listened to it very nicely, but he didn't get the TV that I wanted, but a simpler version, not the shape of football. But he took me along with him to take that TV. He gave me choices, and but I myself choose the simpler TV. But the point is, when I asked one day, remembering this incident, and I asked him, you always respond to me so well with an interesting face, but when you have to act on it, your actions are different. But thing is that it never disappoints me later on. Then my father explained to me that day that, see, when you're telling me you have so much excitement and I don't want it to ruin that, but you have to understand what you ask to your parents also. Because out of excitement, you may ask something, इंसान का जो चाहत होता है, it is unlimited, right? You may ask for moon also. But if I act that moment, okay, you never know what that action will lead to. So I give you time to listen so that your excitement is not killed, your joy is not killed, which Sir was mentioning, your joy is not hijacked. So I maintain that. At the same time, I give you time so that you can think about other things, the economy mostly, because he would explain, see, in the market, every time new things will come. Okay, if today's model is this football-looking TV, in the future, there may be a new model. So with time, you are able to calculate things. So that was an experiment, experience I had with my father, which I appreciate because he is not killing my joy. But now, these days, like now that I'm married, I hardly talk, I don't have much conversation with my husband. When I go back, I don't have much conversation. I am like watching some stand-up comedy just to lighten my mood and to spend time with my daughter. And it happened, I guess, because of the same issue like joy hacker and joy killer. Because If I wanted to have some discussion, he would be reading something. Of course, I do realize that he's reading important things, but I also think that he should also listen to me sometime when I'm saying that moment, because the uh, excitement of that moment, you can never get it back. For example, you just buy a purse. Okay, well, of course you cannot share these things with your husband, the excitement, but you just want the other person to look at the new things that you have got. Like, it can be small purse, it can be small haircut, little changes in you. But if the other person is not noticing the excitement that you have, you stop sharing. You know, the relationship becomes very mechanical. You're doing the same thing, breakfast, lunch, you're going to the job and coming back. So at home itself, you become like a stranger. So I think that listening to the other person and giving the expression that you're having, you have interest to listen to the other person, I think it is very important. I think it implies to everybody, even to me also. Even though we are doing many important work, we should have time for unimportant thing also, like unproductive work. Of course, if you're talking about purse, it's very unproductive. But it creates a moment of joy, silly, silly things. So this is what I want to say. Be a good listener. Only when you're a listener, you can have a good relationship with others. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. Archana, wonderful. So, you know, you talked about your brother. You know, the best part is whatever you experienced, you shared your feelings. Okay. We will also come to know what should make a conversation good between husband and wife. Okay. And we have already talked about, friends, how to make a good conversation between friends. We have one parent, incidentally, who used to narrate some story, funny story about his child, who would always love to wash the, mobile phone putting under the bucket of water. Okay, so 2, 3, 4 phones he has already, spoiled doing that. So, but I really appreciate the patience of father, and how did he handle that particular situation. We would like to know, and Mr. Loon has experienced those things, so I let him share his thoughts.
Thank you, Sir Misra, for the introductory part. So I have recently purchased a phone which is water resistant. So no matter how many times it is dropped in the bucket, it will not take away my joy or happiness. So I think sometimes we can purchase even, this happiness or joy. They cannot hijack it sometimes, it appears. So I have read this conversation audit also, which is, written by Sir Misra. I like it the way, he has written it, and that also really teach me, elation. I have learned lots of things from that, especially that with regards to the conversation between the, parent and the child. When his son was very excited, he was coming to tell something about, might be the new products or whatever he have learned to his father. Might be his father is coming from the office, as one has rightly pointed out, that he might be having that type of self-conversation or self, something in his mind. So here the point is, for example, like I'll tell my my experiences, like I happened to go with my father in his office one day. The office timing might be from 9 to 5. And I was still there, till 5 o'clock. Might be, at that time, all his colleagues have left the office. And I was, talking to myself, why are we till here 5 o'clock? Others have left it. Might be he's very responsible, or he's very dutiful, or might be he's maintaining the time. But his dutifulness or his faithfulness or his responsibilities can be the unhappiness of others. It is sometimes like an insulting to others, his dutifulness. So is it not the joy hijackers or joy killers? So of course there is a one right thing and one wrong also. But sometimes when you are too much excited, when you are too happy also, someone at the someone might see you there, "Hey, why he is so much excited?" So are you taking away his his sadness, or like your happiness can be also sometimes the unhappiness of others? That's one point which I would like to tell from that. And the other is from this conversation audit, I learned that I have to involve with my sons, with my children, while they were playing online games. Whenever there's something to purchase through online, my son would approach me, "Papa, this is, you buy this one for me, this one." So I used to listen it, and then as you said, and then, okay, if I purchase this, what will you get? I started, asking from there. And then he tell me the benefits of that. And I see it, and as I told you, in the early stages, so it was very educative in one way. He learned lots of things, and I also learned it from there. But what happened, one day, as he was, playing, I just go and sit nearby him. And then he was telling me, "Papa, why are you coming here? This is my room. You're not supposed to come." And then, I thought, so it seems that I'm trying to take his joy, or his happiness. So I said, "So I have purchased these things and now he don't like me anymore. So what will I do? So what will be the next conversation?" That's really a tough thing to start. Which topic also. So I think with that, I don't know what will be the type of conversations I have to, start from that after purchasing, spending. Now he don't like me to be with him also. I hope you understand my point.
Yeah.
So otherwise it will be like, now my happiness is hijacked by him. And I also try to, hijack his happiness or his joy by trying to involve with him while he was playing online games. So how do I start that conversation? That is also very important, I guess.
Yeah, wonderful. I think, sometimes when you see your reflection in the child, then you become very, affectionate. And in all the conversation, the standing rule to me is that when you use your heart and emotions and feelings more than your mind or your brain, then the conversation becomes very informal and wonderful. Okay. So now I would also like to talk something about the relationship between husband and wife. And on a very lighter note, let me share with you that Nidhi is with us, looking after administration side. And it happened one day that in a party I met her husband, and the other day I congratulated her that you really have a very handsome husband. Then she reacted, "Sir, am I not beautiful?" So then I said, "No, I didn't say that, but I'm just talking about him, that I found him very handsome." So then I would like to know from her that how she has a wonderful relationship with him, and what factor plays a dominant role in having a sweet conversation with husband.
Thank you, sir. This was a very pertinent question that you've asked, because wherever I go, I get compliments for my husband rather than myself. The thing is that my husband, in fact, is very, he's very emotionally attached to me. And he has been always very supportive of whatever decisions I've taken. Even if those decisions have turned out to be not in my favor, then again also he has supported me and helped me, and has also shown me the right path. On the contrary, as far as the conversation, as far as the discussion goes, the discussion is on the topic of conversation. So I believe that a conversation is meaningful only when we are in that stage of patiently listening, like Sparsh said, rather than hearing. We need to give a patient listening to what the person says. Many a times I have realized that we do indulge in conversations, both me and my husband after work. We do share our experiences of our respective work. But there are times when I am so, mentally occupied with my work that I'm not working at that time, but I'm thinking of my work. And then again, I'm speaking to my husband that whatever he says, I'm not able to, give a good reply or a good solution of that. There was one incident when I was working in the college during the daytime, and he was calling me twice or thrice. I was in a meeting. First, I was in a meeting. Then I came out. Then I started my work. I did not call him back. In the evening, when I met him, he was telling me that he had since he's from the marketing side, so he had got a good business for the company, and so he wanted to share this happiness with me. And that is why he was calling me twice or thrice. And I really felt bad that I could not, share his moment of happiness at that time when he was calling me. So when he told me in the evening, I was happy and congratulated him, but then again he was a little disappointed, saying that when I tried to share my happiness with you, you weren't with me at that point of time. So I felt really bad. I actually I cursed myself for not being with him when actually he wanted me to be with him. But but over the time, I have tried to change this policy of mine that, time, you can be busy. I mean, people are always busy, but you need to find out that time where you can, share a moment or two with your friends, colleagues, and family. Last week what happened was that a colleague of mine in the college, she messaged me and, asked me if, I was available and if she could speak to me for like 10-15 minutes. So I called her up immediately and told her that she can meet me in the college if she's there. She was going through a lot of personal problems, and she wanted to discuss her problems with me. So I not only felt happy that she thought that I was the best confidant, but apart from that, I also felt very happy that I was at least able to give her that time which she was looking to get from me. So over the time, I've realized that time is something which is very precious, and we need to allocate that time to each and every person. We speak, we randomly speak to people. Hello, kaise ho, kya hal chal? But meaningful conversation is that when we are actually trying to help out those people, share their happiness, share their sorrows, and give, and we are able to give them that solution which they are probably, seeking from us. So this is what I have to
Wonderful
say.
message you have given to the entire family. Let me come back to Nilakshi. The toughest thing is to interact with seekers, devotees, okay, and she is an instructor where lakhs and lakhs of people visit every day, okay, to her temple, and she is managing everything so efficiently, and at the same time she tries to satisfy the wishes of the seeker, the devotees. So conversation between you and those aspirants and who expect something from the temple, how do you talk to them? I would like to know.
Well, again, I would say that it's a conviction. There's a certain conviction that we have, and with that, we deal with everyone. Conviction, the first principle that we believe is the oneness of humanity. Like we all are one. there's only one creator. That's what we believe. We don't believe in any, race or color or religion. We all are from the same race, that is the human race. So that's the first conviction we have. And that's what we treat everyone as equal, whoever comes to the temple. So, of course, if there is a special request, if they want to visit the temple and they don't have much time, so we give them special tour. Like they write to our office and we arrange a special visit for them. Otherwise, all have to stand in the queue and then they come and visit. The interactions, Professor Mishra, which many of the friends beautifully shared about, like what you are also sharing, that conversation becomes meaningful when you listen to others. And what we have observed in our society today, we think that we have a friend. When it comes to sharing our own feelings, we don't find anyone. Maybe you all must have experienced that in your own life, that one person we try to find out who we can really trust. Like you said, your friend has come to you because she thinks that you will be the one, you're not judgmental, you will listen to her, you're not going to talk about her feelings to others. So that's the, problem that we all have. We think that if I share something with this person will go and share with others, So they don't trust. So there's a lack of trust in our society. So I think that when somebody comes to your home, for example, how you treat them. You treat them as a member of your family, isn't it? Whoever comes to your house. So similarly, whoever comes to our temple, we treat them as our guests, So that's why we believe. But it's not easy to also handle. There are a lot of challenges. Our volunteers go through it because there are a lot of people who also become tests for our volunteers, They abuse them sometimes, but it's not easy. But also there they develop these qualities like patience, to be patient, to listen to them, to deal with these challenges, and then they reflect on it. Every evening they reflect. So how many, visitors came today, what kind of questions they ask. So all of these things really helps them to also grow. So this is happening in our temple, but we also create spaces for institutions to come together. This is to visitors. We deal with the visitors, but we also create spaces for institutions, like for NGOs, for government agencies, educational institutions, to come and talk about certain issues, for example, equality of women and men, role of youth in society, role of religion in our society. So there are diverse topics that we open the space for people to come together to have a dialogue. Because dialogue is not something that you are just saying or others are listening, but is also you are listening to others, what others have to say. And it's like a two ways, and then how we come to a consensus, how to build consensus and how to raise this collective consciousness, how to have a better society.
And Nilakshi, I always have overwhelming experience, when I go to your prayer hall and I see about 7-8 people, singing prayer. There is Bhagavad Gita, from Gita also, from Quran also, from Bible also. 7-8 religion prayer in the hall, huge hall. It's so overwhelming, nerve soothing. I mean, can you throw some light on that? I mean, how do you organize such a wonderful prayers of all together? Okay.
I think I shared in the beginning that this place of worship, which is a Baha'i house of worship, it's not for the Baha'is, it's for everyone. It's for the society. It was dedicated in 1986 to the public, and in December 1986. And one thing that we are following is not imposing the Baha'i ideas on others, but to open this space for the people to come together and connect with the Creator. So that's why we read scriptures from different religious texts, this Quran, Bible, Gita, and there are volunteers who read these scriptures from different holy texts. And we believe in that, and that's what we are also practicing. But the spiritual, I want to give you this example. Last December, we had this event on Human Rights Day. And there was this big event in the large auditorium, which has a capacity of 400. And there was this visually impaired lady who had come for this program, and she was sitting next to me. And then I asked her, like, how is she, has she visited these places before? And she held my hand, and she said, I haven't find any place like peaceful like this, event, this place. She said, it's so peaceful and so serene, I haven't felt special anywhere, wherever I went. So I was just thinking to myself, what makes her, say that? Because she's visually impaired. She can't see that beauty of that place. Maybe she must have feel something special. And that's the power of the places of worship wherever you go. It is not only Baha'i House of Worship, but also church, mosque, Gurudwara, wherever you go, you feel that special. Because there is this divine power that is there, we believe, and because of that reading of the holy text, which has a power to transform people. We don't say that. That's what we are discussing this, that it's not only you remember God when you're old, but when you are a child, you should know how to connect with your Creator. So that's why we need to teach our children to connect with their Creator, to have the conversation which you said, the conversation with God. I think prayer is a conversation with God, actually, which I learned, like I said 20 years back. And why it is called conversation? Because we meditate on the words of that writings. When we say, oh God, guide me, protect me, you understand. You're asking God to guide you, to protect you, illumine your hearts, illumine my hearts. So when you read the scriptures, you need to also understand, just memorize and say it, just for the sake of, saying it. But you need to meditate on the words and try to apply it, That's what we do. We learn things, try to apply it, and then diffuse that knowledge. That's what the knowledge will generate, right? When you acquire it, and then you apply it, and then you diffuse it. So this is what I think we need to do it. And this creating spaces, like we said, we try to make it more adversarial and, more conducive, inclusive, so that people feel that it's their space. So that's why they feel whoever comes to the temple, they think that, ye to hamara hi mandir hai. So many of us, they said, hamare mandir kab khulne wale hai, they connect to themselves. They don't say that, aapki mandir kab khulne wale hai. So this is what we try to do it.
Thank you, Nilakshi, for expressing those good feelings in such a nice manner, and also enlightening us on the beliefs of Baha'is. In the last leg of our conversation, I would request each one of the panelists to say in 1 minute your message for making a conversation wonderful experience for both.
सो बेसिकली आपको जो आप अपना सेल्फ कॉन्वर्सेशन कर रहे हो खुद से, उसे थोड़ा कम करना है. और अगर आप कर भी रहे हो तो वो सेल्फ कॉन्वर्सेशन वही कॉन्वर्सेशन का टॉपिक होना चाहिए जो टॉपिक आप सामने वाले इंसान के साथ कर रहे हो. ऐसा नहीं कि सामने दूसरा टॉपिक चल रहा है और यहाँ पे कोई और टॉपिक चल रहा है. इसके साथ साथ
राइट.
और इसके साथ साथ आपको मतलब फुल लिसनिंग के साथ फुल अटेंशन देना है सामने वाले इंसान को. बहुत बार ऐसा होता है ना कि पहले तुम सुनो, मेरी बात सुनो ना, तुम सुन क्यों नहीं रहे हो यार, पहले खुद तो सुनो कि वो क्या कह रहा है. तो पहले खुद आपको सुनना है खुद, और उसके बाद वो डेफिनेटली सुनेगा. क्योंकि अगर आप उसे रिस्पेक्ट दोगे तो वो क्यों नहीं देगा आपको रिस्पेक्ट, आपके वर्ड्स को. तो यही है. थैंक यू सो मच.
What I would like to say is that you need to be a patient listener. Like I've always, I have always seen this in myself, that rather than speaking too much about what I have gone through, like what all achievements I have, done in my career, I always give the other person a chance to express themselves rather than, speaking for myself. And only when that person asks me what I exactly do and what I have achieved, then only I open my mouth. And this is what I've, heard as a compliment from others also, because People who know me, they say that you do not talk too much. You always listen to what others say, and then you probably say a word or two. And this is what I will do for the rest of my life also, because I don't want to I don't like speaking too much about myself. I like to speak what others have to say. So always be a patient listener. Listen to what others have to say, because you gain a lot of information, knowledge from what people talk. So this is what I have to say.
Wonderful, Nidhi, wonderful.
I would say that when we communicate with others or we have a conversation with others, we should try to create value in what we are communicating. We should be optimistic about the future and have a positive sense of what we are saying to others. And another thing which I believe in is that when we are having a dialogue of encouragement, then that's the best thing which we can have. Encouraging the other person to be optimistic and sharing our life experiences with others, that will be of high importance to me. And another thing is that sharing our joys and sorrows with others, because when we will share our sorrows also, the other person will get to know our state of mind and will not expect much from us. So this is what we can do is and share our joys and maybe just explore, and what we live is what we talk. So if we will talk good, then we will have a good experience in life. Thanks.
Good, good.
One thing that I would like to add here at the end is that when we say that meaningful conversation, what does it mean by meaningful? For example, if someone comes and says something bad about others, that is a backbiting, right? We cannot call it a meaningful conversation. So we need to be careful also, which I am reminding myself, that whenever I will be engaged with anyone, it will be a meaningful in a sense that I learn something, I gain something from it, from that conversation. It's not that I drain my spirit, after that conversation. So it's like giving joy to others and also, getting joy from that person. So that's what I would like to
Wonderful,
say.
wonderful.
I would like to suggest that just leave all your work, be it phone, be it TV, newspaper. Sometimes we say a member of the family is always on the newspaper when the others are sitting beside that person. So leave all your work, empty yourself, and if you do not have anything to speak, then you can just sit silently and be a participant of the family also, or the family or the friends. Because I have a friend, a very good friend of mine. We don't talk much, but we like to spend a time together. We just sit for we can sit for an hour also without talking. But that, I think, is also a kind of conversation you're having. You're silent, but your silent is making conversation. So participate and be part of other, like be it friends, families, teacher, student. That's what message I want to give.
I think silence seems to be golden, but to start that conversation, if both two parties are trying to listen first, then who will start the conversation? I think that's also a big tough thing which we need to learn. But and I believe too much in others sometimes. I think that's one of the weakness. And as sometimes we should be very careful on that. That is what I learned, especially in today's conversation. We should not believe in others sometimes. That means you can't believe everything what others says. Though I'm going to be a good listener. I think that's my takeaways.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, we can fairly conclude that your heart should do the backseat driving always in your talking. Okay? Then only you can have heart-to-heart talk, which is always welcomed, which is always meaningful, which is always satisfying, motivating, everything. So, we should make use of heart more than our mind. emotions, feelings, and somebody has rightly said that words are the weakest means of communication. Words can be misinterpreted, but when you communicate with your feelings and emotions, emotions and feelings cannot be misinterpreted. So words should be supported by your feelings, which comes from the heart. So heart has to play a major role in your talking. I think with that we can close this conversation. A very useful, wonderful conversation. I thank all the panelists for sharing their own personal experience and own thoughts coming straight from the heart. Thank you.